What's up, my peeps? Time for a brand new episode of WWE Mayhem, and in today's episode, got some news in regards to Badass Undertaker, the 4-star American Badass Taker. A lot of people, myself included, have been wondering when he'd be included or when he'd be introduced into the actual loot cases, because you can see him in versus mode, but you can't acquire him through the loot cases at the moment. So we got some new details in regards to that Undertaker and why we haven't seen him yet, and also why we might not see him very soon. On top of that, next week there's a good chance that we're gonna get some special events because of the Superstar Shake-Up, aka the draft. If you don't know, next week, some SmackDown Superstars, Raw Superstars, they're going to be switching shows. We're getting the draft once again. So I'll get to all of that in just a few moments, but first things first, the loot case situation. So yesterday, I went ahead, opened up a 4-star loot case, but on top of that, I had like 70 or over 70 loot cases that I didn't open up. And the initial reason why I was saving up those loot cases was for the Mania update. Prior to the Mania update, I wasn't opening up my recent loot cases because I was like, you know what, I'm going to save them up once the update drops and we get the new superstars. I assumed that most of the new superstars were going to be in the loot cases right away available. And so that way I'd get these new superstars as quick as possible, assuming that I was lucky enough to land on a couple of these new superstars when opening up the loot cases. But that's not how it worked out. Some of the new superstars were in the loot cases, but others like Shane McMahon and Badass Undertaker weren't. Shane McMahon is in the Road to WrestleMania loot case and also in some loot cases for some gold, but he's not in most of the loot cases, for instance. I'm not that concerned with Shane McMahon, but I really wanted Badass Undertaker. But he wasn't in any of the loot cases, and he still isn't, so I'm like, you know what? Forget waiting for all the brand new characters to show up in the loot cases. Let me go ahead and open up these loot cases prior to that. Open them up when I want to open them up. I'll just get enough loot cases to have my biggest loot opening yet, and that's when I'll go ahead and open them up. And I remember that my biggest loot opening was 50 something or 60 something loot cases. So I was like, as soon as I top that, I'll go ahead, open up the loot. But then the numbers, kept increasing, kept getting more loot cases and more loot cases. And I was like, you know what, I'm so close right now to 100 loot cases, and this is the closest I've ever been to 100 loot cases, so if I go ahead and open it up at like 60 or 70, I'll be kicking myself later, and I'll regret it. I'll be like, why didn't I just wait until I got 100? It's a much nicer number, and it'll make for a special 100 loot case opening episode of, Road to WrestleMania, Premium SmackDown, a bunch of loot cases. And maybe I end up getting, a 4-star out of it for the first time just because of the sheer number of loot cases. That would for sure make up for the last 4-star loot opening that I did, which was yesterday's episode. If you missed it, it was my worst 4-star loot opening yet, because I got my first duplicate. When it comes to duplicates, I'm fine with getting 3-star duplicates. Give me as many 3-star duplicates as you can. I'm all for it. It gets me closer to a 4-star loot case because it gives me 50 4-star keys. On the other hand, 2-star duplicates, not interested because it only gives you 25 3-star keys. Not even 50. It used to be 50, but then it got dropped down to 25. And when it comes to 4-star duplicates, I'd much rather get a brand new 4-star superstar over a slight boost for my current 4-star superstar in the case of yesterday, one of my weakest 4-star superstars, and just getting 100 4-star keys. Because although getting a 4-star loot case is much easier, much quicker than in the past, it still takes longer to get a 4-star loot case than it is getting a 3-star, 2-star, or like a premium loot case. Now, speaking of, loot cases that take time to get, so they brought in the Icons event once again this week, but for the first time, the Icons event is actually giving us Icons loot case keys, so I was surprised, but actually happy about that. It gives you 300 on Superstar, so I completed that, and then I went to the loot case section to actually check the Icons loot case that you can get through, just playing events, through getting the keys, just to see the Superstars and how far away I am from getting the actual loot case. And then I noticed that it says 300 out of 2,500, so you need 2,500 for this loot case. This is the same loot case that goes for 430 gold. So I'm like, what's up with that? that seems like an unusually high number to get that loot case. So once I saw that, I was like, alright, I was planning on going ahead and completing the Icons event fully from Superstar to Beginner or Beginner to Superstar. I'd already done Superstar, so I had Beginner and Normal left. And now I'm like, yeah, I think I'll go ahead and complete the SmackDown event first, because, you know, that only requires 1,000 SmackDown keys instead of 2,500. I wonder if maybe the increased number of keys required for this loot case means that the drop rates for the 4 stars and 3 stars in this one are higher than, let's say, a SmackDown loot case. I mean, you do have a good number of 4 stars in there, 13, but just, you know, having a lot of 4 stars in there doesn't mean that, you know, you're more likely to get a 4-star superstar. It's all about that drop rate. It's gonna take a while for me, though, to personally experience how the drop rates are for the Icons loot case because of the high number of keys required, and also because I don't plan on getting it from the store for 430 gold. I don't get the loot cases for the gold, and whenever somebody goes ahead and asks, hey, should I go ahead and spend my gold on this loot case in the store, I'll usually go ahead and tell them, nah, you probably want to spend that gold on other stuff in the game instead. But anyways, let me go ahead and get to the news about Badass Taker. A lot of people want to know, when can we expect Badass Taker to make his way into the loot cases or be available for us to get? So somebody asked about that in the community page, and Reliance Games went ahead and replied with this. Like most fans, we were expecting John Cena to battle the Badass Undertaker at WrestleMania. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. We will create something special for him when the time is right, no dates yet. So, that pretty much confirms that they brought in Badass Undertaker at the time they brought him in because of all the speculation that it would be maybe Badass Taker showing up instead of the Dead Man. And, you know, obviously that didn't take place. The Dead Man was back. It wasn't the return of Badass Taker. And so it seems like they're waiting for a right time to introduce him now. And it seems like they were going to introduce him if he was actually going to show up at WrestleMania as the Badass Taker. But since that didn't happen, it seems like they went ahead and decided to keep him unavailable until they feel it's the right time to introduce him. So with them saying that they'll do it when the time is right and they've got no dates yet, I don't expect Badass Taker to show up in the 4-star loot case anytime soon. Maybe when Taker shows up, returns on TV, maybe that's when they'll do it. I could see that being the case, but until then, I don't see that happening. I know Taker is booked for the biggest Royal Rumble event in Saudi Arabia, but that's not necessarily televised. That's a network special. Like, you can't go ahead and tune in to the USA Network and watch that. You gotta have the network for that, so I think that's, you know, kind of a different situation. But, yeah, glad I didn't wait until, you know, Badass Taker showed up, because I'd be waiting for a long time to open up that 4-star loot case. Although I probably should have waited a little bit more. Maybe I wouldn't have gotten a duplicate Woods. But anyways, Badass Taker aside, let's move on to the next bit of news in regards to the game. So somebody in the community page posted up a thread talking about the Superstar Shake-Up, saying that the WWE is advertising a 2-day exclusive event for the Superstar Shake-Up, so he's wondering if Mayhem will do the same on Monday and Tuesday to match what the WWE is doing. And so Reliance Games replied saying, you want something and we want to make you something, let's do it. So seems like next week there's a very good chance that we'll get some special events in regards to the Superstar Shake-Up. So could we be seeing a Superstar Shake-Up in Mayhem as well? I don't think that's going to happen unless we get an update, but I do think that there's a good chance we get an event that is related to the Superstar Shake-Up, because I feel like for them to be able to change the Superstars from Raw to SmackDown according to what happens on TV, they'd have to push out an update for that to work. But who knows, maybe they can do it without an update, but I highly doubt that. What I am expecting is special Superstar Shake-Up, aka draft type of events. Like maybe they can have an updated Raw and SmackDown event where the superstars featured are the newly drafted superstars. So for like a Raw event, you'd have the newest Raw Superstars, and for the SmackDown event, you'd have the newest SmackDown Superstars that came from Raw to SmackDown. Or maybe they'll have special loot cases with just the newly drafted Superstars, like updated Raw and SmackDown loot cases. Who knows? I guess we'll find out in next week. But speaking of the draft, here's 4 Superstars that I'm going to say right now I think are going to get drafted. AJ Styles to Raw, Seth Rollins to SmackDown, Jinder Mahal to Raw, and Daniel Bryan to Raw. So, yeah, those are my predictions for the draft. In the comment section, let me know your predictions. Give me 1 superstar you think is gonna go from Raw to SmackDown, and 1 superstar you think is gonna go from SmackDown to Raw. I'm pretty sure Seth and Jinder Mahal are gonna get drafted, so that way they've got the US title on Raw and the IC title, the IC title on SmackDown. And Daniel Bryan, he just got taken off the general manager position right in time for the Superstar Shake-Up. I don't think that's a coincidence. Pretty sure that's to make him eligible for the draft, and that way he can also have a feud with The Miz, since The Miz is on Raw. Unless, of course, The Miz gets drafted, but I'm pretty sure they won't do that. Pretty sure they want to go ahead and do Daniel Bryan versus The Miz. And yeah, as far as AJ goes, I've just had this feeling for a long time now that AJ would get drafted in the next draft, which happens to be next week. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, click the like button down below. And with that said, I'm out, guys. See ya.